Hey everyone, today we're tackling a really cool question in genetics. What actually determines the biological sex of a human? It's a whole process that kicks off right at the moment of conception, and it's all thanks to a tiny pair of chromosomes. Now, this is a huge topic for your life sciences exams, so let's really get into it and make sure you understand exactly how it all works. So here's our game plan. We're going to start with the absolute basics of chromosomes. Then we'll pinpoint the key difference between males and females, we'll look at how sex cells get made, and then we'll do a step-by-step walkthrough of the genetic cross you're definitely going to need for your exams. To wrap it all up, we'll hit the most important takeaway and give you some top-notch exam tips. Okay, first things first. Just imagine your DNA is this gigantic instruction manual for building, well, you. Chromosomes are basically how that massive manual is organized into neat, tidy volumes. To really get how traits are passed on, we need to look at these chromosomes, and the best way to do that is with something called a karyotype. So, what is a karyotype? You can think of it as a person's complete genetic portrait. It's literally a picture of all 46 of their chromosomes, all lined up and organized into 23 pairs. And for every single pair, one chromosome came from mom and the other one came from dad. Now here's something important. Not all these chromosome pairs do the same job. The first 22 pairs, those are called autosomes. They're in charge of pretty much everything else. You know, your body's functions, your appearance, all that stuff. But it's that very last pair, pair number 23, that we're really interested in today. Those are the gonosomes, or, as you probably know them, the sex chromosomes. So let's zoom right in on that 23rd pair. This is where the entire genetic difference between males and females is located. And honestly, it's surprisingly straightforward. In humans, the rule is as simple as it gets. If you have two X chromosomes, you are biologically female. If you have one X and one Y chromosome, you are biologically male. That's it. And this little table just lays it out perfectly. For females, it's XX. For males, it's XY. You have got to commit this notation to memory. I'm serious, it's the absolute foundation for every single genetic cross we're about to do. And you know, it's not just the letter that's different. There's a real, visible, physical difference here. The Y chromosome is a lot smaller and shorter than the X chromosome. If you were looking at a real karyotype, that size difference is a dead giveaway that you're looking at the chromosomes of a male. Okay, so we've got the chromosome combinations down, but how are these chromosomes actually passed from parent to child? Well, to answer that, we've got to look at how our sex cells, or gametes, are actually made. This all happens thanks to a process called meiosis. You can think of meiosis as a special kind of cell division whose entire job is to cut the chromosome number in half. It starts with a regular cell that has all 46 chromosomes and ends by producing gametes, sperm in males, and eggs, or ova, in females, each with only 23 chromosomes. That way, when a sperm and egg combine, the new embryo is back to that perfect number of 46. And this right here, this is the key to everything. Since females are XX, every single egg they produce through meiosis is going to contain one X chromosome. There are no other options. But for males, since they're XY, half of their sperm will end up carrying an X chromosome and the other half will carry a Y. This single difference is what it all comes down to. So, how can we actually map this all out and predict the outcome? We use a super handy tool called a genetic cross, and we visualize it with a Punnett square. This is the gold standard method you'll be using in your exams to figure out the probability of having a male or a female child. Pay close attention here because this is the exact format you need to memorize for your exams. We start with the P1, or the parental generation. Step 1 is the phenotype. That's the physical trait, so male crossed with female. Step 2 is the genotype. That's the genetic code, so XY crossed with XX. Step 3 shows the possible gametes after meiosis. The male can make sperm with an X or a Y, while the female can only make eggs with an X. And that brings us to the final step, fertilization, where our Punnett square comes into play. Here we go. It's pretty simple. We put the male's possible gametes, X and Y, across the top. Then we put the female's possible gametes, both of which are X, down the side. Now we just fill in the boxes. The male's X sperm can meet the female's X egg to make XX. The male's Y sperm can meet the female's X egg to make XY. And we just do the same thing for the second row. So what do we see when we look at the results? Well, our Punnett square shows us 4 possible outcomes. 2 of those boxes are XX, which means a female, and 2 of those boxes are XY, which means a male. That gives us a 2 out of 4 chance for each sex. To put that in the proper scientific terms, this gives us a phenotypic ratio of 1 to 1. What this really means is that for any single pregnancy, there is a 50% chance the baby will be male and a 50% chance it will be female. It's a coin flip every single time. All right, so this brings us to one of the most important conclusions we can draw from our genetic cross, and it's a question that comes up all the time in exams. And here it is, the single most important takeaway from all of this. When we're talking about genetics, it is the father who determines the biological sex of the child. Let's really break down why that is. Just think about it. The mother can only contribute an X chromosome to her child. Her genetic input for sex is always the same. So the deciding factor, the variable, is the sperm. If a sperm carrying an X chromosome is the one that fertilizes the egg, the child will be XX, a female. But if a sperm carrying a Y chromosome wins the race, the child will be XY, a male. It all comes down to the father's gamete. Okay, let's wrap this all up with the absolute essentials, the things you need to have locked and loaded in your brain for your exams. Let's just hammer these 4 key facts home. 1. Sex is determined at the exact moment of fertilization. 2. The mother's contribution is always an X chromosome, always. 3. The father is the one who contributes either an X times or a Y. And 4, and this is so important, every single pregnancy is a completely new, random event. It's a fresh 50-50 chance every time. And that last point brings us to a classic exam trap. People just love to think that past results can influence the future. So let's say a couple has 4 boys in a row. You might think, well, surely the odds are in favor of a girl for the 5th child, right? Nope, absolutely not. This is such a common mistake, but genetics just doesn't have a memory. The outcomes of previous pregnancies have zero, and I mean zero, effect on the next one. For that 5th pregnancy, just like it was for the first, the chances are still exactly 50% for a male and 50% for a female. The probability resets to 50-50 every single time. So the ultimate takeaway is this. In human genetics, determining sex is like a 50-50 lottery, and the winning ticket is delivered by the father's sperm. It all just depends on whether an X sperm or a Y sperm gets to the egg first. Your job now is to get so good at that Punnett square that you can prove this principle backwards and forwards. Thanks for joining me, and good luck with your studies.